I even thought in the moment when she says we're breaking off the engagement, that they were just going to like put a pause on the engagement, like maybe go to therapy, like work on their relationship. And so then I'm like, oh, y'all are breaking up.
Well, Chyna, you always look beautiful as always. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you feeling about going into reunion week?
I'm excited. Yeah, we watched part 1 last night and it's so good. I think part 2 is going to be even better. I haven't gotten that far yet, but yeah, it's exciting.
Was there anything that you're nervous about kind of reliving or was there anything nervous that you were really nervous about going into it?
I mean, there were a few things, just obviously having to talk about the secret wedding plan that we had that was so misunderstood. It was like, it was never supposed to be on their property. Like we had this plan of like, okay, if we could sneak off to a vineyard in Santa Barbara and like split off and everyone does activities and no one would know. And then finding out like, oh no, we're going to film it here. I was like, hell no. So, but just the backlash of that and announcing it at the alpaca farm, even though it was, so all of that. So I haven't seen that part of the reunion yet. I'm like, maybe I'll just watch that live on Wednesday and just react with the fans.
Totally. You're like, I'm just going to fast forward through that.
So yeah, there was that. And, I think that was the thing I was maybe most nervous to talk about because I never wanted to upset Raquel. I mean, she's one of my absolute dearest, closest best friends, and I adore her. So watching that back was really hard for me because I just wish it happened differently.
Yeah. I mean, what was the thing that maybe as viewers, we misunderstood the most about that? Like you said, it was supposed to happen at a totally different location and things like that. So how did kind of things unfold the way that they did?
So I think what people don't understand is our job is to tell our story, when we're filming. And we were wrapping 2 days later. I had so many people message me and they're like, why couldn't you wait till next week to tell them? And I'm like, because we weren't filming next week. And they're like, so it had to be on camera? Like, why did you have to have the camera time? I'm like, it's not about camera time. It's about completing my story as much as I could for season 9. So we're not just going to get engaged and then be like, okay, we're just going to be quiet until we're done filming. Like, that's just not how it works. And people thought because when we realized like, oh, this is where it's supposed to happen, that was our plan all along. And I was like, no. If Brock said at the villa they're all staying at in the vineyard, that's where I want to like do a secret wedding, I would have said, no. Like it wouldn't even have been a consideration, but we just thought we could do it anywhere else. But, with filming, you have to pull permits and with COVID restrictions and all of that. So once we figured out this is how it's going to happen, I was like, absolutely not. But I feel like people don't understand that also. They think we were just trying to bank on James's dime and piggyback. And they're like, you got engaged at their party. I'm like, no, I didn't. If I recall, I got engaged in the privacy of my own home on my balcony. I happened to announce it to my friends at an alpaca farm. I didn't, after Raquel did her toast, stand up and be like, I have something as well. I'm engaged. Like that would have been the taggiest, classless thing I could have possibly done. I would never consider that. So I'm like, I still don't think that announcing it at an alpaca farm to our closest friends was bad. I'm like, I don't get to share happy news in my life because someone else happened to get engaged and throw a party. So nobody else can have anything else going on. Like, it's an ensemble cast. We're all telling our story. We're all doing our job. We're all making a great TV show. So,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Were you kind of shocked by their reaction to your engagement?
Yeah. So also, this is something that looking back on season 6, I realized because to my face, I felt like Rob always just like loved me. And then I watched it back and I'm like, interesting. That's not how I remembered it. And I felt that way when I watched this moment back, because in the moment, I swore everyone was happy for us. And then I watched it back and it's like, you can hear crickets. Like, it was just like, oh, I guess they weren't happy for us. But also with half the people in this group, that honestly doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Did you learn a lot about different friendships this season and who you want to be friends with and who you want to maybe not be friends with anymore?
Absolutely. And going into the season, I probably would have felt opposite, but finishing the season, I really saw who was there for me, who supported me, and who just no longer understands me.
Yeah. Who would you say no longer understands you?
I just really don't think Charlie understands me and what I've gone through this past year in my life. And at no fault to her, you can't possibly understand a miscarriage or giving birth until you've been through it. And I hope to God none of my friends ever have a miscarriage. That is the worst thing I've ever been through. So it was really frustrating watching back me cowering to her and apologizing that I haven't been a good friend. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I literally got HELLP syndrome and could have died giving birth. And like, you're saying that like, I haven't been present. Like, you're not on the top of my priority list. But at the time, I'm just have so many hormones running through my body. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was a bad friend. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I just wanted to scream at myself and just shake myself through the TV and be like, stop apologizing.
Right.
Like, stop. So that was frustrating for me. And I mean, going into the season, you know, I was on the outs most with Lala, and she ended up being, I mean, obviously we have our moments, and as you see in the finale, another moment, but outside of that, we were very much a support system for each other. We were on like the same feeding schedule. We really understood what one another was going through. And even if we were fighting, but at the end of the day, we still understood. We were both new moms. A lot of these fights are probably hormonally driven, and we were a support system to each other. And I think that was one of the things that upset Charlie. But I'm like, but you don't understand what we are both currently going through. And that was frustrating. And even watching the reunion back, and she's like clapping at me and yelling at me, and I'm like, sit down. Like, I can't.
Like, I can't deal with this. Well, you know, and you know, in the last episode we got to, or the last couple of episodes, we see your beautiful ring. It's absolutely gorgeous. But you know, a lot of people criticized your ring, and you felt the need to kind of respond to it. I mean, do you let those comments bother you? And why did you feel the need to kind of defend yourself and defend your ring?
It's not that they bother me. It bothers me when people are incorrect. I like to correct people. If you don't like me based on the correct information and full story, that's fine. You just don't like me. But I'm like, okay, first of all, this ring is actually worth a little over $36,000. Kyle thought it was $25,000. As a jeweler, you get stones at wholesale prices, and you get really, really good deals on stuff. Bravo, they love to hear how much things cost. Whether that's what we pay or not, that's a different story.
Right.
Kyle is a friend of ours. He gave Brock an incredible deal on it. Brock thought it would be funny to put a little bit on each card. He could have put it all on one card, but he was like, oh, put a little bit on this, a little bit on that. Like, I thought it was funny. Like, people in Australia who get that like cheap type of humor thought it was funny. And he's like, yeah, I'll always be a cheap ass. I'm always going to ask for a discount. Like, he jokes all the time. We'll be at Target and he's like, oh, can I get my employee discount? And they're like, oh, do you? And it's like, it's a joke. So people who don't get his humor, whatever. But I'm like, when I actually got my ring appraised for insurance, even Kyle was like, whoa, it's worth more than I even thought. But it is not even close to what he paid. We got a very, very good deal from a very, very good friend. And I wanted a morganite. I didn't want a diamond. I don't need it. It's a waste of money, in my opinion. I think this is beautiful. I love pink. It's a rare light pink morganite, and it's a precious, beautiful stone, and I love it. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
It's gorgeous. It really is. Wear it well. Has your relationship with Brock, has it changed at all over the course of watching back this season at all? Because sometimes, you know, as you know, putting relationships on camera can cause tension and stress in relationships. And did you find that happened at all with Brock this season?
Not really. I mean, obviously our relationship has changed and evolved because we have, and we're parents now. We're not the same people we were when we met, and we're just partying at a festival. So our relationship has definitely changed, but watching it back, I think it's helped me want to stand up for myself more and just give myself grace. And I think, you know, if we do have a season 10, that I've got that spark back I had in the early seasons. And I think you'll see a different side of me. So I'm really, really hoping that we're back for another season, because I finally feel like me again. I have never felt least like myself doing this show or just in my life. I felt it was like my body was no longer mine. I am just, you know, a milk lady. None of my clothes fit. It was very challenging being home for 3 days after getting home from the hospital, and then boom, filming full time. Like I've had so many moms who are like, it's like, you know, 4 months postpartum, and they're like, how did you do this like in 4 days? It's crazy.
That's really insane. I give you a lot of credit, because I'm what, 7 months now postpartum, and I still, like, there are days where you don't feel like yourself. Probably like almost like a year later is probably when you start feeling like, okay, I got this. I feel better.
I'm 9 months out now, and it's like, okay, 9 months in, 9 months out, and I'm finally feeling like myself again. But definitely those first few months, I mean, not even close. So for friends of mine who couldn't understand that, like, it's one thing to not be able to empathize with me because you haven't been through it, but to not even have a little bit of sympathy and grace, it was frustrating in the moment. It was even more frustrating to watch back.
Definitely. I know the last time we spoke, obviously, I know that you had a lot of complications when you had your baby, and you talked maybe like exploring the surrogacy route. Have you guys talked about that anymore? And have you discussed, you know, plans for baby number 2, or are you looking to do wedding before baby?
Wedding before baby, for sure. We've said baby number 2, we will consider that once she is fully potty trained. Like that, I don't want to have a toddler diapers and a baby diapers and all of that. So I think the soonest we would even discuss getting ready for that would be 2023, like summer. Summertime. Yes.
I'm currently in that situation. Toddler and baby both in diapers. It's not fun. So
so I'm like, that's ideally, I'm like, I want to wait until she's at least 2 years old. I mean, hopefully we can get her potty trained by 2, but every kid is different, you know, they go at their own pace, and what our plan might be might not work. So we're just gonna enjoy all of our time with her, spoil her, and love on her as much as possible, and then consider that well after the wedding. The wedding planning is, I forgot how much goes into planning a wedding. I'm like, do you want to just elope? Can we just elope? Just the 2 of us.
Are you guys maybe considering that, or are you planning on getting married this year? No,
Groomzilla wants a wedding. So I'm like, I've already done this, but he hasn't. And I want to do it so badly for his family. Like, his mom deserves to see him walk down the aisle, do the mother-son dance, and just like see that for her son. So I really want to do it for his family. I'm like, maybe I just don't invite half my family. Like, you already went to my first wedding, you know, you'll see this one hopefully on TV or on YouTube. But yeah, I have a very big family. So once we started making our list, we wanted 125. We have double that. And I'm like, no.
I mean, speaking of family, how is Brock's relationship with his kids? Have they changed at all since the last time we spoke?
He spoke to his ex the other day. So, I mean, he's making all of his child support payments and taking care of all of that. So we're just hoping to continue building that relationship. But as of right now, I mean, we don't have any plans right now to go back to Australia. So just hoping that he can continue what he's doing, and eventually, you know, she'll come around. But also the kids are 11 and almost 9. So they are old enough to make their own decisions if, you know, they want to see him or not. And he respects any decision that the kids and their mom make. We're just hoping for the best.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and since filming stopped, and I know we're going to get to this at the reunion, there have been some big breakups. Of course, Lala and Randall. I mean, were you shocked about this? I mean, or were there rumors going around that maybe you heard for quite some time? Kind of like, what was your reaction to all this?
I was very shocked. I think it was like James, Kristen had said like they had heard things years ago, but at that time, if anyone who had heard anything would have brought that to Lala, I mean, she would have shut it down. She says now, I wish people came to me. But at the same time, if people did come to her then and she didn't shut it down and she did leave him, she wouldn't have Ocean. Yeah. So, you know, it's hard, but I feel like anything people heard in the past, it was just like, it was bullshit. You know, no one believed it. I remember sitting with Ariana one night and she gets a message on her phone that was like, I was with your man last night. And she's like, really? Because we were watching a movie in bed. And so people say things like that all of the time that I think anything anyone had heard, they just dismissed because they thought it was bullshit.
Right. Does Randall still talk to anybody in the friend group, or has he kind of been excommunicated as well?
I think some of the guys that like business wise, he still talks to. I've had no communication with him since I found out everything that he did. So, unfollowed, completely cut off. That's not someone I needed in my life.
No. Are you amazed at how strong Lala has been through all of this? I mean, she said that, you know, they only really communicate through an app. And I mean, that's got to be really hard to co-parent like that. And it seems like she's just been really strong for Ocean.
Yeah, she's a badass bitch, you know? She is a great mother. I have seen it firsthand, and she's a very strong woman. So it doesn't even surprise me how well she's handling this. I know obviously it is hard, but I'm so proud of her for, you know, just obviously you put your kid first. When you're a mom, your kid comes first. And that's exactly what she's doing with Ocean.
Would you want to see James and Lala get back together?
No, God, no. No. And I mean, anyone who knows Lala knows her type. It's not Randall and it's not James. Let's just say that.
Do you think that she's going to start dating again, or do you think that she'll probably take some time for herself?
I think right now she's taking some time for herself, but yeah, she'll definitely start dating again. I have a very good man who is interested in her when the time is right. So I can't wait to hopefully play matchmaker.
Definitely. You think James and Raquel will give it another shot, or you think that's
no?
Yeah, that's done.
That's done.
Yeah,
definitely.
Were you shocked about that? Because obviously we'll see that happen at the reunion.
Yeah. I had no clue. I even thought in the moment when she says we're breaking off the engagement that they were just going to like put a pause on the engagement, like maybe go to therapy, like work on their relationship. And so then I'm like, oh, y'all are breaking up. Like what? And she's like, I'm moving out tomorrow. I was like, whoa. And then Brock was there tomorrow, and Brock helped her and her dad move her out of her apartment. And now she's living in ours in LA right now, which is so great to have the company when we're up there. We're down in San Diego right now. But I think she's thriving. She's doing so well. And I don't see them getting back together. I think this was the best decision for both of them.
Yeah, well, that's good. You're such a good friend to, you know, open up your home to her as well during this time, which I think is
and I told James I would have done the same thing for him. If the tables were turned and he needed a place, I would have done the exact same thing.
Definitely. I love it. Well, Scheana, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure catching up with you.
Thank you. You too.
I can't wait to watch the reunion. It's going to be great.
I know. It's so good.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.